Tell me a little bit about LaSalle, Keith.
Very interesting team. Obviously beat Dayton at Dayton, beat Richmond at Richmond, beat St. Louis. Certain nights they've beaten the very best teams in the league, and then other nights they just don't have it. So dangerous team, good enough to beat anybody, especially on their home court.
Keith, looking back,
Atlantic 10's been this year, right? I mean, everybody beating up on everybody else.
Yeah, it's funny, Jerry. I was thinking about that this morning. If you take the worst teams in the league record-wise, so let's look at St. Joe, and let's say they play with Ryan Daly all year long. There's not a whole lot of difference between them and the top teams in the league. Like everybody's saying VCU's the top team in the league, but I don't really see that much difference between any of them. For us, like LaSalle is a totally different type of game than Richmond. Richmond's like you got to make sure you cover their actions, the back cuts, the handoffs. LaSalle, you better be able to play good one-on-one defense, keep them in front of you, and get back in transition. And if you catch them on night when you don't do those things and they make shots, they're going to beat you. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it's a league that's cannibalizing itself on a daily basis.
Keith, from what you saw Saturday, do you think in these last couple of games that there is time to get into some type of rhythm before the tournament?
Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously, I think, for us, it would have been better to have the normal schedule, play it out and then get to it. But we can't control that. So we're certainly good enough, and hopefully we can play ourselves into good condition over the next week and be ready to, win 4 games, which really all it comes down to is a couple guys shooting the ball in, and you continue to play good defense and share the ball. And if you get on a stretch where you shoot the ball in, just like St. Louis did 2 years ago with the one guard, they won the tournament.
Are you guys healthy now, Keith? As far as everything?
Yeah, Mike Hughes didn't practice yesterday, but that's just, he was just beat up. But other than that, we're healthy. He'll be ready for the game.
Keith, I know we've discussed at various times the challenges of this year. How is your team mentally dealing with this latest comeback and heading into the tournament next week?
I mean, you just don't know, Jeff. I mean, it's been a disappointing season for a variety of reasons for the players. And when I say disappointing, I'm not really talking about the results. Really just the whole college experience, the lack of fans, the shutdowns on numerous occasions, just the disappointments of not playing games. It's a tough deal. Now, everybody goes through it, and everybody goes through it to a different extent. Like VCU and Rhode Island haven't been shut down at all, and then there's other teams that have been shut down consistently. So there's no rhyme or reason behind it. So I think we'll be ready to play when it matters. It's just whether we're going to, for us, for 2 years, the games come down to the last 4 minutes. Numerous times. And can we make enough plays in the last 4 minutes or the last 2 minutes or the last possession to win the game? And we have to do it a little bit differently than most teams do it. Like we have to do it just a tad bit differently. So I think we'll be ready. It's just whether we can make enough plays.
By differently, do you mean having to set up and, play half court?
What I mean is we have to throw it inside, and they're basically using their perimeter players, and we're using our big people, which is a little different.
Coach, you mentioned lack of fans, things of that nature. Now that you've gone through this a bit, how different is it without the fans?
I think it's different. You can tell all over the country that home court advantage is not quite as good. I think it's different emotionally. So you have to have maturity and you have to have love of the game rather than love of the thrill of the fan and the thrill of the excitement. You just have to love the game. At times it almost seems like a fantasy to me, like, and what I mean by that is like, I'm a preparation freak and it's hard to be totally prepared this year. When you're off 18 days, your expectation level has to be tempered to some extent, or you're off 5 days. I used to hate being off. You could even see in practice all the years I've coached, one day off, the next day after practice, the next day after a day off is usually brutal. But you're talking about like consistent days off. So, I mean, everybody's facing it, but everybody, again, like I said, is kind of reacts differently. So I really haven't enjoyed it because I just don't really like the way it works. But by the same token, hey, if you're not flexible in this business, it's going to run right by you. So you better learn how to deal with adversity.
Are there joys you found, and I guess sometimes without the fans in particular, I know obviously it's weird, but you've also said like once the game starts, that ball tips, you're locked in. Do you feel like players are kind of adapting to that a little bit better, not having the cheers, not having the pregame stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm a purist. I'm a basketball purist. So for me, I could care less if there's fans or not. I mean, you got to understand, when I was a head coach at 25, we played at the YMCA at Tiffin. So we practiced there too. And the court next to us, they were playing Duck, Duck, Goose with the preschool. And I was practicing over there with a stocking cap on because it was so damn cold I couldn't. So for me, it's kind of back to the beginning, so I just like to coach basketball. And the fun part for me this year has been seeing those young guys develop. That to me is what coaching's about, is developing people and making them better. And they certainly have gotten better. And, while we had some disappointments, that has been a point of happiness for me.
Keith, with all the disappointment that you referenced earlier, you still very much have a chance to have a winning record when all is said and done in the conference. Considering all the trials and tribulations, what would that mean for this group and for you?
Well, like I said many times, I really didn't come here to have a winning record. I mean, but by the same token, if you look at the history of Duquesne, they haven't had too many winning records in the A10 over the last 45 years. Dave would know better than me, but I think it's like, this will be, if we have a winning record in the A10 this year, that'll be 3 for us in 4 years. And I think they've had 4 other times, maybe, Dave. So it hasn't been fruitful at Duquesne. So, we're just trying to build consistency, a good program, and at some point a championship level program. And we've been close, and we're still not, hey, we're 4 games. The way I view it is 4 good games, and we can play in the NCAA tournament. Then we could give somebody a hard time in the NCAA tournament. So again, things would have to go right. It's hard to win four games. It's hard to win 1 game, but we're certainly good enough. We just have to play. We have to be more consistent with not only our playing, but our emotions. If we do that, we'll be right there.
When you talked to the guys the other day, we talked earlier about Ryan Murphy accepting the role. Just with those other guys that haven't been in the current rotation, just what have those conversations been like to shift that mindset and maintain that positive mindset?
So, Zach, you can only talk so much, guys are disappointed when they don't play, and they certainly don't want to hear some 62-year-old man tell them why they're not playing or keep your head up. At some point, they want to play. So you can only talk so much before they just shut you out. And the only thing that I tell people is the same thing I tell my kids and myself is when times get tough, I only know one thing to do, and that's to fight. And you're never out of it with me. I can change on a dime and play somebody else. So whether they believe that or not, you can only say it so many times. Eventually, they either have to choose to fight or not fight, just like all of us.
Coach, in our industry, we use this word narrative, changing the narrative. Obviously, it's something you're trying to do at Duquesne. How tough is that, particularly with everything that happens here, to actually change the perception and the thought and I guess branding of Duquesne as a basketball program?
I did it before. We did it at Akron. We took a program that hadn't been in the NCAA tournament since Huggs was there in 1986, and we went 3 times and went 5 times to the NIT. That was hard. We did it a little bit easier there, for a variety of reasons, but we had a good nucleus when we got there, and 2 of them had played for me in high school. So this has been a little bit harder. And then, we took a little bump, this year where we thought we were right there, but then we're right there again. We just haven't, when you don't have a preseason, it's a little bit harder with younger guys. But I feel like regardless, we have a good foundation for the future, so we just have to stay the course. And the pieces are now in place for us to consistently be a good team. We've made progress. We went from a 3-15 team before we got here to a team that now consistently can play with the best teams in the league. Now, can we consistently beat the best teams in the league? We haven't shown that yet. And so it's such a fine line winning championships, and it's so fleeting. You can be good one week and bad the next. And when you make your living with 18-year-olds, that's kind of how it is sometimes. So I have to give myself pep talks at times, like I hit those ruts too, where I wonder, hey, what are you doing? But the challenge of it all is what drives me. And so when I came here, I knew the risk I came here because I thought the reward was better than the risk. And so I still think that.
I know we're preparing for Wednesday's game against LaSalle, but since we got you here, what does it mean to you to get one last home game this year, get in the new arena, all things considered?
Well, it's a lot better practicing every day. And most of you know this that have been around me. We practiced almost daily in the practice gym in the 3 years that I've been here. But we practiced every day in the arena since we got back in the arena. Now, I don't know if that'll continue, but the vibe's good. The windows are good. I like the windows. The freshness is nice. And our guys have practiced better since we've been over here. So we haven't been in the practice gym, which I love the practice gym, but just, I'm just kind of shooting from the hip. So playing another game in there is good. I wish we would have been able to play a few more. And next year, hopefully, when you get fans back in the arena, it'll be a big advantage for us.
Have you gotten a sunny day in there? I know. I think a couple of days. I think one day it was sunny here, if I remember correctly. What's it like in there when the sun's like beaming in? If you've had one?
Yeah, we had one. And contrary to Pittsburghers thinking that they have it bad, Ohio's worse as far as the gray. Just want to let you
I lived on Lake Erie. I know.
I just want to let you all know that, right?
I know.
Akron, Cleveland's worse than Pittsburgh as far as the grayness. So, but the sun was nice. It's a little bit in your eyes because the windows are on the one end, but it's anytime you can get sun, you got to be happy, right?
Amen.
Keith, a couple lineup questions, if you don't mind. McKelliger didn't start the other day, and then Murphy didn't play at all.
McKelger's been sick. So we felt like we played our best basketball when he started, but we didn't feel like health-wise he was quite back yet. And the reason we like him is defensively, he's really good on the ball defensively and helps us. And he's capable of making open shots, and he moves the ball. But we didn't feel like he was very healthy, and I didn't think he played really up to his standards, but he did the best he could under the circumstances. Murphy's a little bit of a dilemma because we need his shooting. The problem's been is that we've started to play pretty well without him, and so and we shortened up a little bit, so it's a tough call. Those are probably the toughest decisions that you have to make as a coach. And most coaches wouldn't even answer that question like that, Jerry. So you get unbelievable honesty from me. But that's really the question is, do you play an extra guy? Is the extra shooting, does the extra shooting help you more than, your chemistry and your defensive intensity? Those are hard calls. But he's a good player. It's just, we started to win without him, and then we just continued to go that direction.
With Kelja, you said he was sick. Can you elaborate on what that might be or what happened?
He was shut down.
Oh, okay. That was all right.
And then, he had bad symptoms. So he was sick. So a lot of these guys that are pretty sick from it take a little bit longer to come back. And so he's still not right.
How tough? Go ahead. How tough is that to deal with, man? Because like it's some guys, it seems like they get it and they don't even know they have it, and some guys it really impacts them, and it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
I feel for him. He's had a rough time. He played pretty good against UNC Greensboro, and then he broke his foot, and then he played really good, guarded Crutcher and guys like that, did a good job, and then he got sick. So he's had and his brother left. So emotionally, that was hard on him. He's had a tough time of it, But he's a funny player, He's a guy that doesn't look like much. People don't think he's very good, but he gets along with people. He's strong. He's tough. He doesn't care about anything but winning. So there's a lot to be said for that. A lot of lessons to be learned from that, and I don't think honestly, I don't think we played as good a defense, whether it's coincidence or not, without him. We didn't play. That was one of our worst defensive outings of the year. Now, part of it was probably 18 days off, and part of it's Richmond's good offensively. But we played better defense with him.
One more thing with that, just in general with dealing with guys going in, guys going out, now going forward. I meant to also ask Maceo, excuse me. How's he coming along? How's he doing? How's he dealing with everything? I know he's had a tough time.
Well, he's been happy, which is really all I care about. His mental outlook's good. I thought he played hard. He's played hard in practice. Obviously he hadn't played in 2 months, so that's a hard deal. And that's a hard blend too for us, all you can do as a coach is try to put the guys out there you think can win the game. That's all. I don't do very well when I worry about people's feelings and I do care about their feelings. Let me just say that, but ultimately I have to try to win the game. So, obviously Maceo coming back affects other people too. And it affects their emotions and their emotional happiness. And so it's a tough, coaching's hard nowadays. I don't know. I kind of view things a little differently now. I just think that the ship sailed and guys are coming and going anyway. So you might as well just try to counsel them and help them. But at the same time, just try to do the right thing and win as many games as you can because they're coming and going anyway.
Keith, a big picture question. You were off almost 3 weeks. You went on the road to play one of the best teams in the conference, a team that's on the NCAA bubble, actually, and you were ahead late in the game. Did you guys surprise you at all that they came back and played as well as they did after the pause?
Well, I thought, we played about like I thought we would play early on. We just didn't. We made a lot of mistakes mentally. We tried really hard. We just were running in mud, kind of, which that didn't surprise me. And our fight didn't surprise me either. We've shown tremendous grit and fight for the most part. The 2 loose balls were big plays. Not only did they come up with the loose ball, but they made the 3 on the loose ball, both of them in the last, 4 or 5 minutes. And the last one with 1:40, that was tough, because we had our hands on that one, so gotta be lucky sometimes too, Jerry. That's what it comes down to. So, and I do think that a lot of those plays even up over time, so if I had to lose one, I'd take that one versus one in the A-10 championship game or a regular season game that really has huge meaning. So we'll get one. Hopefully we'll get a loose ball or a ball that bounces our way when it really matters sometimes.
Coach, nothing else, I found you to be an honest man as much as a coach can be, all things considered. What do you see with this team that makes you believe that they could win the conference tournament and make some noise in the NCAAs?
Well, I think they have good belief. They're not over a 2-year time period. We played against everybody in the league, and we very rarely got our ass beat in. Right? We've been right there to now. Winning consistently and being competitive is 2 different things. So we need to make more plays, and we certainly need to shoot the ball better from the perimeter to ever really be what we want to be. But we do a lot of other things pretty well. And now the question is, well, can you get better? Like there's some teams in this league that were pretty good early that haven't gotten a drop better. And then there's other teams in this league that have improved. And can we get better? Can we get better individually? Can we get better as a team? Most of ours is emotional maturity. Are we mature enough to become big winners? Like the really good players and the really good teams, they're pretty even keeled. So we have to be better at that. We have to have better belief and more security in what we are and who we are. And that will provide us with a little bit more what I call equilibrium rather than ups and downs, because sometimes we're a little up and down. But most of our problem relates to not putting the ball in the basket from a high, from that 3 line. And if we ever would shoot the ball at a higher level, we'd be one of the best teams in the league. Maybe we're not capable of it. Maybe we're a personnel guy away. I don't know, but I think we're a little better than what we've shown so far.
Keith, there was after the Richmond game, I know that Chris Mooney expressed a little bit of disappointment because he felt that the conference hadn't kept in enough communication as it related to the championship process and the championship procedures. Just how much communication were you set in? And really, as a coach, is that even something you worry about, where it's more of an just you do what you're being told to do, especially given this time of year?
Zach.
Had to.
I don't like to skirt questions too. So the whole thing's driven by money. Let's be real. The only reason we're having a season is because money. And every decision made is because of money. And I'm going to stop right there. But that's the reality. Now, do I disagree with it? No, like I can disagree to some extent, but I also understand it. Like there's schools in this conference that like we got smacked around financially, right? Like no attendance. There's schools that are used to putting 13,000 seats or people in every year, every game, right? That's a lot of money to flush down the toilet. And, you know, those NCAA shares, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of help for the schools. But the one thing I'll say is sometimes like you can try your darndest to get 3 teams in or 4 teams in, and sometimes there's a wrench in those plans, right? Sometimes you're just better off to just play it out and see how it happens, right? Like you don't know if George Mason's going to beat VCU or VCU is going to beat George Mason, or St. Louis is going to get beat by 20 at Dayton. So why, you know, it's such a balanced league. Sometimes you're just better off just to play the way it was, right?